500,000 in debt, a career just starting, and life coming fast. Here's how professionals can turn overwhelming loans into lasting opportunity. Hello, and welcome back to Retire Stronger, episode 34. I'm John Foard, here with my business partner, Bill Kearney. And today's episode is one that I think a lot of young professionals, and honestly, their parents too, will want to lean into. Because whether you're graduating from medical school, dental school, law school, or another professional program, you're probably looking at a mountain of debt, maybe $500,000 or more. Just as life is starting to happen, the house, the marriage, the kids, the business buy-ins, or even practice startups, they're all looming. This is a unique crossroads. You've just accomplished something incredible. Years of intense study, delayed gratification, and preparation. But now, the financial reality sets in. We're going to give you not just perspective, but a framework, and then an action plan for how to start strong and set yourself up for long-term wealth and security. Bill, how you doing? Say hello to everybody.
Doing good, John. Hope you are. Good to be with everyone. And yeah, this is something we see a lot. And I know it's something that weighs on the mind. I think this was actually a listener requested topic for us to address. So
It
let's
definitely was.
kind of jump into that. The reality check here, talk some numbers, right? I think talking numbers and kind of getting our hands around what we're dealing with here helps us to ground the conversation. According to the Association of American Medical Colleges, the median medical school debt in 2023 was about $200,000, but that's the median.
Mm-hmm.
So for many specialists, dentists, and private law school grads, the numbers are far higher than that. We routinely see people walk out with $400,000 to $600,000 in federal loans. So let's put that into context. A typical first-year associate at a big law firm might earn around $215,000 in base salary. A new dentist in a private practice might start closer to 140 to 180,000, depending on geography.
Mm-hmm.
And for physicians, a residency might pay 65 to 75,000, while the average attending physician salary ranges anywhere from 250 for family medicine to over 500,000 in surgical specialties. So you can see there's a mismatch here, right? Debt levels here are huge. 400 to 600,000, but then there's income inequality, right? The income here is kind of lumpy. So early years are lean, especially for doctors in residency, but then income can ramp up steeply, right? So the key is that the financial playbook for young professionals is very different from your peers who left undergrad with 40,000 in student loans and got a corporate job.
Yeah, that is a very, very good point. I mean, you think about it. A doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, definitely different stratosphere when it comes to student loan amounts. And, let's talk about kind of the psychology of it all, and specifically, kind of lifestyle inflation, right? Um, that's really, this is what it boils down to for a lot of folks. After years of delayed gratification, there's this natural pull towards arrival syndrome. I've arrived. I've accomplished it. I've reached the top of the hill. You finally have some income, and now you want to enjoy the fruits of your labor, right? You want that house. You want that car. You want to take those vacations that you've missed out on or not been able to afford. Maybe even you want to put your kids in private school. And honestly, you've earned that right to enjoy life. No one's telling you that you haven't. No one's telling you that you cannot do these things. But here's the rub of it all, right? Here's the tension behind it all. It's called lifestyle inflation. And if it gets ahead of you, it can sabotage decades of work. We've seen doctors that are making $500,000 a year who literally are living paycheck to paycheck because of big mortgages or big loans they have on their practice that they purchased or bought into, or large car payments for these luxury cars that they have decided to purchase, and no real plan. no real plan on how to really eliminate these things, these debts that they have. And the opportunity is massive, but also so is the risk. So there's a concept I like to call the three phases of professional timeline. And Bill, you mentioned it. We see this. We see folks come through our practice often. We have multiple physicians that we work with, several dentists that we work with. We do have several lawyers in our practice as well. And so these are things that we've helped with and established to get these folks on the right track to a tax efficient retirement. So number one, the three phases of the professional timeline. Number one is survival mode, right? You either have residency or early associate years. You have that low pay. You talked about that lumpy kind of pay timeline, and you have huge debt. The priority here should be budgeting. And very importantly, and I will stress this, the other priority should also be avoiding lifestyle creep, and then also, you know, smartly managing your loans. Um, so those are the things that we want to focus on in the survival mode early years. Um, Number two would be the acceleration phase. Maybe you're an attending or you're on a partner track. Um, your income might actually jump significantly. This is the window in how we address this with our clients that are in these phases. This is the window to aggressively pay down debt and, very importantly, build an emergency fund. And then also start retirement savings. Decisions that you make here in the early years, especially getting into your 40s, decisions here will compound for decades. So these can set you up for massive success, or, Bill, as we also like to talk about with our clients, it can set you up for massive failure if you don't plan appropriately. And then we have the third phase of the professional timeline, which is wealth building mode. Again, maybe you've made partner in your firm. Maybe you've established your own practice and it's going well and it's growing and it's maturing. Debt is mostly under control, hopefully, right? And the focus now shifts to building investment accounts, filling up your retirement buckets, and even business equity or real estate would be something that you might be focusing on during this phase as well. The key here, folks, and the trick is not to confuse these phases. Too many people live like they're in phase 3 when they're still in phase 1. And that just goes back to my comment about not allowing lifestyle creep to happen. It's, you folks are obviously very smart to graduate from law school or medical school or dental school. You have, a lot of intelligence to be able to do those things. Don't allow other things to distract you during the early years of your new career and get you out of whack when it comes to retirement planning. Bill, anything you want to add on that part?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that part of the issue here too is that folks go into these areas of specialty because it's a passion of theirs. It's something that they want to do. It's something that they enjoy. And a lot like most other professions as well, not enough time is really spent on managing your household like a business. That you're going to take on debt, just like a business takes on debt. But you have to have the proper cash flow to be able to manage that debt. And then when does discretionary spending come in? How do you do all of that? How do you manage those parts and pieces, right? So I think what would help is to maybe come up with a tactical approach here on how to work through this.
Absolutely.
And kind of attack it that way. So let's talk first about loan management. The average medical dental loan interest is somewhere around 6 to 7%. So over 10 years,
hey, did you say 6 to 7 or 67?
Well, if it's 67%, that's incredible. I think we're gonna have people moving out of that field. 6% to 7%. Yeah,
Got it.
A loan interest rate, right? So over 10 years, that means a $400,000 loan at 6.5%. That's 6.5%, John, accrues about $145,000 in interest if that's paid on the standard schedule. $145,000 in interest, folks. That's more than my first house cost, right? So, but here, look, if you can refinance that, if you qualify post-residency and you can refinance, that same loan might drop to 4%, saving tens of thousands over the life of that loan schedule. Another example, if you're a physician working for a nonprofit hospital, the public service loan forgiveness which the acronym is the PSLF on that. That program can erase the balance after 125 qualifying payments, effectively, 10 years. So
Yep.
there
And
are
we've
loan
seen,
forgiveness
yeah, we've
programs
seen
out there
clients
as
that
well.
actually participated in this as well. So we know that this is, an option you can go down. So,
Right. The retirement savings window. Right? Every year you delay saving for retirement in your 20s or 30s, you give up massive compounding. So a $20,000 contribution at age 30, earning 7% annually, becomes about $150,000 by age 60. Skip it, and you can't catch up very easily, right? So you starting early allows you to accumulate much more later on. Another area here is tax planning. We can't ever lose sight of tax planning, right? As income rises, tax brackets become brutal.
hmm
Married professionals earning $600,000 combined are in the 37% federal bracket. Obviously, that's a blended bracketed rate, but the top rate is where they're going to find themselves, the 37% federal bracket. Plus, they've got state tax to add on after that.
hmm
So we can't miss opportunities with things like Roth conversions. We're certainly not going to miss the opportunity to talk about a Roth conversion.
there it is.
Backdoor Roth IRAs, taxable brokerage accounts. These are all essential tools to create tax flexibility later. This goes kind of swerves into that topic of taxable, tax deferred, and tax free. Those are the three areas your money can exist in the eyes of the IRS, and you need to have a proper balance in those three areas. And here's another one that's oftentimes not thought of. I'm actually working specifically with an attorney on this right now, but insurance and risk management. Disability coverage. This is non-negotiable, folks. People that have specialized crafts, especially folks like a surgeon, if you lose the loss of your hands, you've got to have income replacement.
hmm
And then basic insurance like term life, to protect young families. It's cheap, it's critical. So don't overlook the insurance and risk management aspects of this as well. And a lot of times that type of coverage is not expensive like you might think it would be. We look at it and say these aren't really just financial decisions, these are life decisions. This is how you structure a proper business plan from a personal standpoint for a professional in their early years.
Oh, yeah. Well said. I mean, you have to treat this like a business, right? Because it is. If you are a young professional coming out of med school, dental school, law school, or any other profession, when you come out and you have massive debt looming over you, you have to structure things appropriately in order to get out from under that debt and prepare yourself and set yourself up for a quality, tax efficient retirement, right? And if you don't look at it from that perspective, then you're just setting yourself up for failure. And I know we've already said it two or three times already, but it's just worth repeating that, right? So let's kind of talk about an action plan here, Bill. I think step one would be just to stabilize things. Budgeting is key. If you don't know where your income is going, then you really that's the starting point. You have to create a budget at that point to determine where the outflows are happening. So create a bare bones budget while you're in residency or in the early associate years after you get out of school. Explore, income driven repayment or forbearance strategically. And then I would say get disability coverage immediately, as you mentioned before. That's kind of like a step one. Just stabilize, get a get a base level established, within your career, within your life, with respect to starting some planning here. And then number two, step two, I would say, you have to attack the debt intelligently. You mentioned the PSLF, that loan forbearance for anyone who's like a physician that's working for a nonprofit hospital of some kind, or like the VA, for example. Um, you know, Commit to these things and don't refinance prematurely, because there are good times to do that and there are times where it's not worth it, right? For dentists and lawyers in private practice, refinance aggressively once stable income is secured. And then I would say also keep lifestyle moderate until debt to income ratio is under control. Again, we're talking about lifestyle creep here. Do not let that shiny object, that expensive car, that fancy vacation, or that bigger house in a nicer neighborhood, or that country club membership. Don't allow those things to grab a hold of you prematurely before you can truly afford to do that while debt is still not under control. And then step three, let's talk about building that foundation of for your finances. If you don't have an emergency fund, which is anywhere from 3 to 6 months worth of your fixed bills that you need to make sure are taken care of, you got to get that established first. And then after you've done that, I would say max out your available employer retirement plans as soon as you can. And then consider some backdoor Roth contributions early on, maybe some, some Roth contributions in general if you're able to do so based on your current income situation. But tax-free growth is golden. You want to have that as part of your plan. Step four, you want to advance toward ownership or equity with where you work, whether you're a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, a professional out of any other career path. For attorneys, partnership buy-ins often run anywhere from 2 to 400K. So prepare in advance. Understand what those numbers are going to look like. Understand what that's going to require from you to be able to do a buy-in. For dentists, practice startups can cost anywhere from 500,000 upwards to 3/4 or even $1 million. You know, build liquidity and good credit because you're going to have to take most likely have to take a loan for that. For physicians, joining a group or any other type of setup is going to require capital. Plan for it. Again, it's all about having a plan, knowing what your future is going to potentially hold and what it's going to look like from a financial responsibility. That's the key here. And then step 5, play the long game. At age 40, we would hope that your debt is pretty much behind you at this point or well under control. You want to shift fully into wealth accumulation phase at this point. Taxable accounts, real estate, college savings for your kids if you have kids in the picture. Again, you are shifting your focus to that accumulation phase of your life and preparing for a strong retirement. Maintain your insurance as well and get some estate planning documents in place if you haven't already. And then most importantly, for a well thought out retirement income strategy, you want to make sure you have a tax strategy in place for when the time comes you're ready to walk away, whether it's to sell your practice, to retire, whatever that may be. Having a proper tax strategy is key. And Bill, I know that that's an area that we both really focus on and work very hard at with our client base.
Yeah, but I'm just confused because your 5-step list there didn't have anything about buying the $100,000 Mercedes. When does that come in?
Yeah. So again, I love it because you're bringing this right back to one of the key things that we've discussed so far in this episode, which is lifestyle creep. Look, no one's telling you not to buy that expensive car or that big house or join that country club or take that nice vacation. But what we are telling you is do it in a smart and an intelligent way. You cannot go, skip to level 5 when you're still residing in level 1 or 2. You have to allow your income to debt ratio to catch up in a way where you can afford to do those things without it jeopardizing your long-term financial plan at the end of the day.
Yep, couldn't agree more. And so here's the bottom line. Graduating with $400,000 to $600,000 in student loans does not mean that you're doomed, okay? In fact, you've got one of the greatest assets on your side, earning power.
Mm-hmm.
The danger is not the debt itself. It's mismanaging those first 10 years and letting lifestyle inflation outrun your income. Do not let debt rise to meet your income, right? That's that lifestyle creep we're talking about there. With the right playbook, stabilize, attack debt intelligently, build your foundation, prepare for ownership, and then shift into long-term wealth, you can absolutely thrive. You'll not only pay off the debt, but you'll set up a retirement, a lifestyle, and a legacy that was worth all those years of training.
Absolutely, Bill. Well said. And if you're a young professional, or if you're the parent of one, and you're wondering how to turn debt and uncertainty into a real plan for financial independence, that's exactly what we do here at Crown Advisors. We've walked countless physicians, dentists, and attorneys through this journey, as well as other professionals. So you can reach us at info@crownadvisorgroup.com. That's Crown Advisor with an OR group.com, or give us a call at 704-469-0200. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button to listen to every episode of Retire Stronger on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or even YouTube. And that way you'll never miss an episode going forward. Remember, it's not about the size of the debt. It's about the strength of the plan so that you can retire stronger. Have a great day, folks.